Welcome back to the Green Means Go channel. It's your host, me, here for our Week 6 Power Rankings, where we go through the NFL, all 32 teams, and talk about which category each team falls in. At the top, we have Super Bowl conversation, teams that I honestly believe could be talked about when discussing the Super Bowl. We have comfy playoffs, teams that are kind of no-doubters to make the postseason. Week 18 Warriors are your wild card or close call teams. The category is just not quite a playoff caliber, but they're not quite 6-11. And then finally, we have wins the draft. Looking at a couple of comments we had on last week's video, guys, let me just read these before I scold you all. Ted Sexton says, I love how you let your heart and feelings decide. Logic and reason have no place here. Certainly not a team's win-loss record. I know Ted is being sarcastic, and I get it. All right, but I think there is balance. I think sometimes a team's win-loss record doesn't tell you everything. So the 49ers are a great example. The 49ers are 2-3. Do you guys really believe that the 49ers are a losing team? Okay, at this rate, that would be a category or a 6-11 category, right? The Steelers or the 49ers are better than that, okay? And on the other hand, the Steelers have a winning record. I don't think the Steelers are a great football team, which brings me to David Parker's comment. Steelers 21st. I guess that's thinking outside the box. I will say it again. I don't think the Steelers are a great football team. Yes, they have a solid defense, but their offense is not going to be able to keep them in games if a team is able to come in and figure out their defense, like we saw with the Colts, like we saw with the Dallas Cowboys on Sunday night. Enough of it. Enough of me ranting and raving. Let's get into the actual rankings, the things that matter. And if you're mad about it, go watch somebody else's chalky video where they just fill it out in terms of record. It's not what we do here. We feel it. We embrace it. The Jacksonville Jaguars got a win against the Colts. Last-second field goal. Still not a team that I am impressed with. A team that started off poorly, and has continued to play really close games. I don't know. 6-11 or is where I want to put this team. I haven't looked at their schedule. It may set itself up for a little bit easier as we go down the line. So I'll put it in I'll respect the win that they got this weekend, and I'll move the Jaguars up to The Colts, I think, and people are going to disagree with this, and that's fine. I think if you want to win now, if you're the Colts and the organization, you want to win now, you keep Joe Flacco in. Anthony Richardson gives you more dynamics, but he is not at a place where I think he can come in and win games in the same way that Joe Flacco has put this team in position to do the last 2 weeks. I like Anthony Richardson. I think he's incredibly talented, but I think he's still green. Okay, I think he's still young. So if they want to play for the future and get him the reps so that they can build him up, then that's fine. But the Colts, we're going to slot them at 6-11. They did get a good win against the Steelers 2 weeks ago, but their loss at Jacksonville, their injuries, it's just too much. I don't have any faith in this team. The Texans win a very good game against the Bills, a very convincing game. It wasn't a convincing win, but it was a win that convinced me that this team can hang with true contenders. And, I think realistically, this is a Super Bowl conversation team. I'm not saying they're going to go to the Super Bowl, but I'm saying this team should be talked about when discussing the Super Bowl. So you know what? I'm going to move them up. We might have a full Super Bowl combo slot today. We may have 6 teams in here today. So just cry about it. The Tennessee Titans had a bye this week, a much-needed bye, and they don't get to play Miami every week like we saw 2 weeks ago. So wins the draft for the Titans. I think they have too much to work on, which is crazy. Again, I'll say it again and again and again. This team has so much talent on paper, and they're just not doing it. Now, again, this is kind of the Anthony Richardson, Joe Flacco debate. Mason Rudolph may put this team in better position to win now than Will Levis is putting them in. Rudolph came in and looked better, and he looked good last year with the Steelers. So I don't know if maybe they think they have a salvageable season that they want to throw him in. I don't think they do. We'll put him there. Patriots can't get out of their own way. Wins the draft for the Patriots. Put in Drake May. It's time. All right. The Jets also can't get out of their own way. Losers, again, another week of a loss. And, they play the Bills, I believe, this week, which is not going to get any easier. I predict that the Bills will beat them. This team, I know. I know that's absurd. And they have played a hard. Okay, here's what we'll say. They've played a hard schedule. They played the Vikings. They played the 49ers, but they barely survived the Titans. So we'll put them in we'll respect them. I think they're better than the Jaguars, but we'll put the Jets in I'm scared for their playoff chances. The Vikings, they lost Tua. I get it. That's a big blow. We'll put them in wins the draft. I don't think this season is able to be saved at this point. And now, Devin A-Chain goes down with an injury. Well, Mostert's been hurt. So just, again, they can't shake the injury bug. The Bills have had 2 rough losses to teams that are legitimate playoff contenders in the Ravens and the Texans. So I'm going to say that those losses do matter, but they don't scare me away. So we're going to put the Bills in comfy playoffs. I still think this team should win their division and make the playoffs for sure, but I'll slow my roll on Super Bowl talks. Moving on to the AFC West, we have the Chargers, who had a bye this week, who continue to be sort of one-dimensional, like to run the ball, and I see a path. I see a path for this team squeaking out a wild card. I think a wild card, especially with the weakness of these other divisions, right? Like the North, the Bengals looking bad, the Steelers kind of dropping a few, and the teams we've already put here, the competition for the wild card is pretty low. So I'll put the Chargers in Week 18 Warriors. Raiders, though, lost to Denver. This team beats Baltimore, one of the better teams in the NFL, and every other game they've lost horribly to not contenders. So, what do you do with that, right? This would be such an easy placement, wins the draft if they lose to the Ravens, okay? But they haven't shown me anything since, so we can't rest on our week 2 laurels. So we'll put them there. Broncos, they might win 6 games. I mean, I'm moving them up out of respect for them. I don't think really, there's a path for playoffs, although if what I said is true about the AFC being a little weaker, maybe they could squeak a wild card. We'll put them here. I don't know who they play this week, but I am willing to move the Broncos up to But their win against the Steelers, their win against the Jets, and their win against the Raiders, I just don't know if it moves the needle for me. I want to see them play a little bit more of a contender. You know what? My gut says this is wrong. Let's move the Broncos up. My gut said I can't sit here and honestly put them there and feel good about it. So we're going to move them up. All right, Chiefs, we'll put them in the Super Bowl conversation. And I hate to do it because I don't want to do it, because I don't want this team to go to the Super Bowl. They have not played games in a way that has convinced me they can dominate the rest of the league. They're 5-0, and last night they looked good. And I want to say this. They looked good because they were finally running the ball. I think Kareem Hunt had something to the tune of 27 rushing attempts. I don't know when the last time a Patrick Mahomes offense has allowed the running back to run that much. They finally have balance. Their defense is playing well, and I think that is a scary recipe for the rest of the league. Let Patrick Mahomes do less. I know we want him to do more. I know that's how you win games. You put your best players in the position to make the plays, but having that balance and that rushing attack is going to be lethal for this team. We'll put them in Super Bowl conversation. Crazy. The Browns have been the biggest disappointment of the year and my worst prediction. I thought they would compete for playoffs. We're putting them in wins the draft. The Steelers, I'm sorry, David Parker. Here's why. I'm going to explain this. Sure, their defense is good, but their offense, I just don't believe in. I don't think it's doing what it needs to do. It's playing watered down. It's playing vanilla. And I don't believe if a team can put up 25, 30 points on this team, that this offense, the Steelers offense, can keep pace. That's all. All right. And when you start playing the powerhouses of the AFC, these 3 teams, they're going to put up 25 and 30 points. Okay. More than likely. So that is what scares me. Now, I think, in the North, there is a chance for a wild card with this team. Okay. I believe that they have a shot at the wild card. So I will put them there. The Bengals are 1-4, which is not something anybody could have predicted this year. So we'll put the Bengals at because I think we have to. We have to at this point. I mean, they've had a hard schedule. They've played good teams, but they've had opportunities to beat good teams and they can't get it done. The Ravens, I think, are also in the Super Bowl conversation, which I realize is 3 teams in the Super Bowl conversation. I'm not stupid. There is only one of these teams that can make it. Okay, so let's rank these teams. This is the AFC. Let's put them in order in terms of best to worst. At this point of these 3, I think the Chiefs would probably beat these teams. I would love to see this game, but I would give the edge to the Ravens. All right, I'm fine with the Bills there. I'm fine with this order. I think the Chargers and the Steelers are very similar, but I'll keep the Chargers ahead of the Steelers, but just by a small margin. Jaguars, Jets, Broncos, and Bengals. I'm going to put the Bengals first. Okay, I think the Bengals are the best team in this category, followed by the Jets, followed by the Jags, followed by the Broncos. That's fine. Colts sit alone at 6 and 11. And then for wins the draft, I'm not interested in ranking pathetic teams. So we'll just leave them there to fight it out amongst themselves. Moving on to the NFC. The NFC South is where we'll start. The Panthers look better with Andy Dalton, but they got hammered by the Bears in a way that I did not predict. I thought they could come in and get a win, and because of that, we're going to put them at wins the draft as a little bit of a punishment. The Buccaneers lost on Thursday to the Falcons, and that's frustrating because I have talked poorly about the Falcons all year, and I will probably still continue to talk poorly about the Falcons. The Buccaneers, I do believe, are a better team than the Falcons. Overall, you simulate that game or you play that game in Tampa Bay, right? I think that Tampa Bay wins more often than not. They were not able to get the win that night. And you can disagree, right? But that's just my logic looking at this. So I'm going to put this team in comfy playoffs. And here is why. I think regardless, no, I'm not. The NFC is loaded. The NFC is so much better than the AFC. Put them in Week 18 Warriors. This team has a shot to win the division or take a wild card, and I won't explain any further. The Saints lost. Derek Carr is now looking to be potentially out for we don't know how long. Jake Hayner came in for one drive and didn't look bad, so maybe it will be okay. But I have questions now about this team. A team that beat the Dallas Cowboys, a team that almost beat the Eagles, a team, that who'd they play week 1? That impressive win week 1, just kind of a backslid a little bit. So we'll put them in the category, but I still respect this team. The Falcons will go in Week 18 Warriors 2. Kirk throws 500 yards on Thursday. Their defense is playing fine. Whatever. The Bears got a win against the Panthers. What's that tell you? I don't know. Doesn't tell me much. I think this is an uphill battle for a playoff spot, so we'll put them in category or 6 and 11. Or 6 and 11. We'll put them in We'll put them in That feels right. The Lions had a bye this week, and I believe they have a matchup. A tough matchup this week. I want to say they play a division rival. So I think this is a team that makes the playoffs, whether by winning the division and passing the Vikings or taking a wild card. I think that is just kind of an automatic bid. So we're going to put them there. I know I've had them in Super Bowl combo in the past, and I still think they can make an argument for the Super Bowl conversation, but I'm moving them up. They can make an argument for the Super Bowl conversation. Scold me, okay? The Packers got a win against the Rams. And I think this division, the NFC North is crazy. It might be the best division in football. I think record-wise right now, it is the best division in football. The Packers, Week 18 Warriors. I think it's a very legitimate shot for a wild card. Vikings, comfy playoffs. I think they'll win the division or get a wild card. So my prediction right now, Week 6, is that I think the NFC North could have 3 teams represent the division in the playoffs, which I think has happened, but it doesn't happen very often. So keep your eye on that. The Cowboys got a win against Pittsburgh, which was much needed, and I still think this division is wide open. I think the Commanders could win it, crazy enough. I think the Eagles are kind of on the outside looking in. Giants got a win this week. Okay. Cowboys will put in Week 18 Warriors. I still think they could grasp the division. They need to beat Washington, though, twice to really have that spot. Washington, I think Week 18 Warriors, they have a shot at this division. I think the Giants are probably closer to a 6 and 11 team than anything else, although their win against Seattle, does help. I think it tells you more about Seattle than it does about the Giants, but I digress. And the Eagles, Week 18 Warriors as well. I'm not willing to take a stand on these teams. You know what? No, I'm not willing to take a stand on these teams. It's okay to play the middle ground. That's what we're going to do. We're going to leave them here. Moving on, last division, the NFC West, and then we'll organize all the teams. Seahawks, here's why. Last week I said, you know what, guys, I'll move them up. And I knew what I was doing. I think I put them in comfy playoffs last week. I knew by doing that I was going to jinx them. I had the feeling, because I know this team. This is the team I know the best. They're injured. You know, they're injured. I'm not gonna make it. That's it. They're injured. Okay, they have too many injuries right now. Their defense is missing half their starters. All right, and we saw it hurt them against the Giants. So I will say, because the rest of this division is playing so mediocre right now, the Seahawks do have a chance at a wild card, but they better figure it out. And they better get healthy. So we'll put them there. Same thing for the Niners. The Niners have a losing record right now, which is bizarre to say. So between the Niners and the Bengals, two of the biggest shocks, and maybe even the Browns of the year. So we'll put them there. The Rams, we will slot into 6-11. Another loss this weekend, tough loss, but again, they competed. I think they're always going to compete. And then finally, the Cardinals, maybe they have a shot. Maybe the Cardinals maybe they have a way forward. I think they kind of match the temperament of these teams. Okay, so let's go ahead and rank everybody as a whole. I think the Chiefs, sure, can be the best team in football. I think I'm fine with this order. I'm okay with this order. Moving down here, I'll put the Vikings in front of the Bills. We'll do that. As for Week 18 Warriors, oh boy. I think these NFC teams are stronger than a lot of these AFC teams. Oh boy, this is going to get messy. I think Dallas is one of the better teams, crazy enough. I know you're not going to like it. I think Tampa Bay's up there as well. I think Washington is up there as well. Although Tampa Bay beat Washington, I don't know if they played right now, how it would be. Those are pretty close. I think Green Bay is up here as well. I think Seattle is probably worse than all these teams. I think Falcons are worse than Seattle. I think the Eagles are probably about here. 49ers, I think, are better than Seattle, better than the Eagles. Like, this is crazy. This is getting very messy. We're going to just say this is a rough order. Okay, you could put an asterisk or quotes around all of these. I think it's close, but you can shift one or two around. As for the category, I think that the Cardinals are better than the Saints. I think these teams are very similar. I think the Cardinals are actually better than a lot of these teams. I think it would be pretty close to this order. Maybe put the Saints above the Broncos and maybe do something like that. We'll do something like that. That feels pretty good. This category 6-11, not that it truly matters, but I do think the Rams are the best team in the 6-11 category. Colts than them, and then I don't care about these teams. You can rank them in the comments if you'd like. Okay, so there we go. That's what we got. I know I didn't take a stand on a lot of these. Week 18 Warriors is full of teams, and that's okay. Say what you want in the comments. I can take it. I can handle it, and maybe you'll be featured next week. Take care and watch my video where I drink soda for the first time in 16 years.